Okay, so we are just looking, kind of wrapping this up. The last thing I have for us is just finding the zeros of the polynomial function. This is the exact same thing that we were just doing, even though you don't see it equal to 0. So step 1 is always make sure the equation is equal to 0. And in a function like this, that means that all we're going to do is take this f of x, and we're just going to replace it with a 0. So otherwise, it's the same thing. So we have 0 equals x squared minus 18x plus 32. And now we can do our diamond and box. We can do our factoring. So we would do our first term times our last term. So that's going to be 32x squared. And our middle term is our negative 18x. So we want to find two numbers that can multiply to make 32 and add to make negative 18. So since it adds to make a negative, both of these have to be negative numbers. Negative times negative makes a positive, but a negative plus a negative makes another negative. And we need to work out what multiplies to make 32. So we could do 8 and 4, but that's only going to give us, that'll multiply to make 32, but it only adds to make 12. So 8 and 4 won't work. And so then we need something bigger than 8. So if we think we have 16 times 2 makes 32, and negative 16 and negative 2 would give us our negative 18. So there's our two numbers. So, and they're both negative this time. Our first term was our x squared, goes in the first box. Our 32 was our last term, goes in the last box. And now we can factor this. So there's our x times our x. We would need a minus 16 to make negative 16x and a minus 2 to make a minus 2x. So then we have, I'm going to write it like that. We have our factors. We're going to set them both equal to 0. And we're going to solve this. So then if I was to add 2 to both sides, I get x equals 2. And if I add 16 to both sides, I get x equals 16 because it's just 0 plus. So I have 2 and 16 are my two possible values. I can plug those in and check and see that the equation would in fact equal 0. 2 squared is 4, minus 18 times 2 would be 36 plus 32. So is 4 minus, so if I'm plugging this into my equation, this was 2 squared minus 18 times 2 plus 32. And so sure enough, that's 4 minus 36 plus 32 does in fact equal 0. So you can always check by plugging in if you're not sure if you factored correctly. Okay, so I've got one more here. Finding the zeros. Again, we know that it is, since we're finding the zeros, that it's going to be 0 equals our equation, 2x squared plus x minus 1. So my first term times my last term. So that would mean a negative 2x squared. My middle term is just x, and I'm going to write this as a 1x. And we need to find two numbers that multiply. So it's got to multiply to make 2, so it's got to be 2 and 1. And I need to make it a negative 2, so either I need a negative 2 here or a negative 1 there. In order for it to add to make a positive 1, I need the bigger number to be positive. So I need a positive 2x minus a 1x. That's where I get my 1x. Our first term was 2x squared, and our last term was minus 1. So now if we factor this, we know we need an x and an x. Where's the 2 going to go? And we can see that the 2 is all the way across the top row, so I need the 2 on the top row, kind of in the same direction as it. So, and then 2x times what makes 2x? Well, I would need a 1. And x times negative 1 makes negative 1x. So our factors, 2x minus 1 and x plus 1. And then we would solve them. We would set them both equal to 0. That's our process. And we're going to solve it from here. So I have 2x equals 1. Remember, when you divide 1 by anything, it turns it to a fraction. So this is x equals 1/2, not 2. And then my other one, I would have to subtract my 1, and I would get just x equals negative 1. So I have 1/2 and negative 1 for my solutions. And that's all we have to do. So it's just about a matter of making sure it's equal to 0, and then we do our diamond and box. So homework again is on quizzes, and good luck with that.